Everything, everywhere, all at once is special to me. Fundamentally, you can say that it changed my life. When I rewatched Everything Everywhere All at Once, I cried yet again, and I had a lot of thoughts about what makes it such a masterpiece and about how I think it's going to be a classic in the future. So feast your eyes on this love letter to Everything Everywhere All at Once, including clips of when I first saw the movie and me doing Jobu Tupaki cosplay. I cried watching Everything Everywhere All at Once for the first time. Just bawled my eyes out watching A24's Everything Everywhere All. Everything Everywhere All at Once was groundbreaking in ways that I sometimes still struggle to articulate. In my film journal, I talked about Everything Everywhere All at Once and I called it refreshingly honest, funny, and emotional. And I do stand by it. But I also think a lot now that I've rewatched it about how it depicts the complications of love and of building community and of how our relationships develop when we are in places that we didn't really grow up in. And it was something that I found relatable on a cultural scale. It's dared to ask what the fragments of possibility and nostalgia have done to us, and how we reach the people we care about. And it also asks about what makes us disappointed, what makes us feel invisible, what makes us feel unseen, and about what kinds of possibilities exist for us. There's so many different phrases that I remember from this movie, and like I remember the first time I watched it, I had just heard Evelyn saying, I always hated this place over and over and over again. And like when she said, I am learning to fight like you to Waymond. And when she was telling Jobu Tupaki about cherishing the moments they have, even when they exist in this fragmented reality. Everything Everywhere All at Once is such a rich example of storytelling. An example of this rich storytelling is anthropomorphism as a storytelling device. As a story device, anthropomorphism can take different forms insofar as personifying objects, gods, or non human creations is concerned. This one clip of Joy and Evelyn as rocks and everything everywhere all at once was so jarring, but it did not actually pull me out of the story. I was very hyper focused on the conversation that was going on, and somehow the rock like movements that were happening in the scene actually enriched the experience a lot. And that is really difficult to achieve, that level of immersion in this very surreal story. Like, just be a rock? Just be a rock. Really. Just a rock. And this didn't break my immersion at all. As a matter of fact, it made so much sense in the overall universe. I keep telling you, this movie is brilliant. What makes this movie believable, even at its most surreal, has a lot to do with the performance of the cast members.
I have to finish all this before bus.
Nothing matters.
We have to be kind.
你唔好再叫我做爸爸，我冇你你個女啊！
I remembered when my husband served me papers.
Want to go for a walk?
We know people like these characters, or we are people like these characters. Evelyn, who has to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders and is dissatisfied by how her life turned out, as played by Michelle Yeoh. Waymond, who is often hurt and is used to his kindness and sometimes goofiness and happiness, being seen as naivete and childishness, as played by Kwan. Joy, who doesn't fit into the cultural mold that is familiar to her parents, and who is sometimes tolerated but not accepted, as played by Stephanie Shu. Gong Gong, who has been stoic and demanding and struggles to express how much he loves his daughter, as played by James Hong. Dear dear, who knows that people find her unlikable and goes through the motions feeling that she will never be seen as someone lovable, as played by Jamie Lee Curtis. Even Debbie the dog mom, who is treated as this frivolous and unrefined person, as played by Jenny Slate. And let's not forget Chad, who seems to have it all but deals with feelings of inadequacy and loneliness, as played by Harry Shum Jr. The skills of the cast is evident when you consider the emotional intensity of this film. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is a startling film in the way that it sort of collapses in on itself. And the performances of the cast members is part of why it holds together so well. When I walked away from the surrealist sci-fi sort of film, something that really stuck out to me as I keep repeating is the familiarity of the story. This is a film that speaks to resentment, to grief, to our concerns about possibilities, to the things that we failed to become. And it sort of challenges our embarrassment about the banality of our lives, the unremarkable relationships that we have, and it questions why we as viewers see it as less important. And it shows us how interesting the mundane and the boring actually is, as contradictory as that seems, because of the way that these cast members play their role. And so, as we journey the multiverse with them, at every point in time, we believe these characters, and that is an incredible feat to pull off. Speaking of pulling things off, I found out that mainly a five-person team was in charge of doing the effects for Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is incredibly impressive.
The core thing that we all realize as we're doing visual effects on a Daniels film is that it really does need to stay grounded in what is going on in the story.
It really is all about the story. 500 visual effects shots done with 5 guys in their bedrooms during the pandemic. And you watch the movie and they're not perfect and they're not going for realism.
I am obviously also going to talk about the costume, hair, and makeup design in Everything Everywhere All at Once, which you probably guessed since you've been watching me do Wang / Jobu Tupaki cosplay this entire time. The character design of this movie was largely a result of the collaboration between Shirley Kurata, the costume designer, Anissa Salazar, the hair department head, and Michelle Chung, the makeup department head. They would all, of course, also have conversations with the actors and actresses, particularly Michelle Yeoh and Stephanie Hsu. According to the New York Times, Shirley Kurata has been said to know all different mediums of art by the likes of Kristen Dunst, and the directors of Everything Everywhere All at Once, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, known as Daniels, considered her a key part of the film process. And this definitely shines through. From everyday wear to go to the IRS offices to outlandish Elvis inspired garb, it is clear that she had a keen eye for developing characters through their presentation. The last piece in the puzzle of immersing us as an audience in Everything Everywhere All at Once is, of course, the soundtrack done by Son Lux. Their experimental style is, of course, hypnotizing, and it has you hang onto the words of every single character. And as you laugh, as you cry, and so on and so forth, they are there accompanying you in this magical, magical experience. As you can see, I have succeeded in the Jobu Tupaki cosplay bagel makeup situation. So I'm happy to also share that with you. Dear Everything Everywhere All at Once, thank you for reminding us that we can be anything, anywhere, at any time. Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in the intersection of different forms of art and human society and philosophy, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. And I'll see you in the next video, where I discuss why I randomly decided to join a course to write my first screenplay.